All right, thanks, Stefan. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed having a look through the new app builder. A lot of hard work has been done there, and I think when you get your first use of it, you're going to see it's really nice to use. So the next section that we're going to be covering is desktops. So desktop is a new concept within the Dex environment, and a desktop essentially, well, at its most basic level, it's a portal. The difference being that in Cybern's previous portals, we had a static portal, and within that portal, we rendered our apps. A desktop is the ability now to build your own portal. So we call it a desktop. It is very much like a dynamic portal, and what it is the desktop is an app itself. It's a type of app that now allows you to build within the app builder, build the desktop, and you can then render other apps within that desktop. So before I show you the desktop itself, I just want to give you a view of the design view, so you can get a feel for just how customizable it is. And when I talk about building the portal or the desktop from scratch, you can see that it really is built from scratch. Every element is completely customizable, and it's totally within your grasp to change whatever you want to change on your desktop and display it how you'd like to display it to your customer. So the first thing we're going to do, we're back in Solution Explorer. We're in our account opening solution. And like I mentioned, we've pre-built the solution. So Sean has pre-built this desktop for us. He's called it the account opening desktop. And we are now going to go into our design mode for the desktop. So we're going to click on the design tool, and we've opened up an app builder. And I'm just going to give you a quick preview of the construction of our desktop. So yeah, you'll see we're back in App Builder. I think it'll be familiar to the guys that's already used App Builder. We're on our canvas, and we've got a page here. And quickly you can see, a kind of a desktop structure on the app. At the top here, Sean's called this My Cool Desktop. We've got a header bar. All of these items on the desktop, on the different containers, these are plugins. So we've added additional plugins to the app builder that's specific to the type of features and functionalities that you would need in a portal. So this particular desktop, what Sean's done is he's built it in such a way to replicate the existing functionalities from our current portal. But again, it's very powerful. You can build this desktop in a completely new layout and design. You don't have to go and follow the existing portal structure and layout. But just to illustrate and get that concept across, we've tried to create a little bit of similarity. So just to run through quickly, you see there we've got a server connection plugin that's going to allow you to view the status of your server. We've got a user profile plugin that you can drop onto your nav bar. That's going to show you, the logged in user and account features and so on. We've then added a navigation plugin on the side here. And within that navigation function, we've added different options. We've added a dashboard, queues, mails. Again, these are not static. These are just different options on the menu that's been added, and then they've been configured to display these icons and these options. Each of these options will now point to different pages, and those pages are then going to be the area that the user is going to interact with specifically on the desktop in order to use the functionality. The major part for us would be the queues on this desktop, in the queue section, and we've developed a specific plugin in the to manage your sort of queues functionality, where you drop this plugin on, and now what you can do is you can specify specific apps within this plugin. So previously what we were doing on Portal is we were using iframes to render apps within each of those iframes. Going forward, when you build your dynamic desktop, you can now drop this app selector and you can choose specific apps. So we no longer render through iframe, we actually render an app within an app. And you'll see that it gives us significant advantages in terms of speed, moving between the different queues and so on. And once again, you don't necessarily have to put these apps within our traditional SLA stat queue structure. You could potentially, over here, for some reason, I could have an app link. In fact, I will show you that. Our mail is such an example. What we've also done, just to spice this desktop up a bit, is we've added a right sidebar here, and we've dropped our chat widget onto this. So I'm going to now show you the desktop itself. We're going to preview it, and we're going to have a look at the desktop. That was just to give you a little bit of a flavor of just how configurable this is, and that what you're going to see in the next slide is essentially this desktop that's been built completely from scratch, running in run mode. So this is what your users typically going to see when they log into your portal going forward. All right, so there you see the desktop based on the configuration, the design mode that I just showed you. So we're going to quickly just walk through the preview. So from the design side that we just walked through, obviously now you can see the structure here. The structure is very similar to what we looked at on the designer. We've got our nav bar. There you've got, now you can see the plugins in action. You've got your server status. You've got your user profile status. You can, this plugin set up so that you can view the profile. And again, because these are plugins and this desktop is now something for you to build, you can build your own plugins if you wish. So using our custom plugin functionality that we developed previously, if you want to build your own user profile plugin or so on, you can now build those through our custom plugins and you can add them to these desktops. So you can literally extend this desktop, to whatever you need to do. If your client has some kind of custom requirement for their desktop or something that they want to see specific for the user profile, etc. These are the basic plugins that we've put together for to build a basic desktop, but it's very much extendable and you can take it much further than this. So the first option on the nav bar is the dashboard option. This is again custom. It's been set up by Sean. He just wanted to give you a little bit of a flavor of a dashboard. On this page we've got a number of charts which we've dropped on from our available plugins. On the right hand side you'll see our chat widget there on the right sidebar that we dropped in, so that's available. If the particular users of this portal, they need to chat back and forward amongst each other while they during the course of business, then they've got a chat plugin. Obviously this will be configured specific to that business scenario. The next option is the queue option. So this is now to demonstrate again how to give some similarity to our previous portal in terms of if you want to set up a queuing system and you want the user to walk through a set of queues with work that they need to perform. So in the queuing system, we've got the case opening queue. And we've, again, like from the configuration, what you saw, we had our app selector. Now this is the app selector in practice. We've got the app selector set up to call our case maker app. We've got our case checker app. We've got our case track and trace. So I'm actually going to walk through these as if I'm a user, using it. So I'm going to open up my case maker app. And I've got a case that I want to enter. So I'm quickly going to enter my case. And I'm going to save my case. Right, so our case is saved. Now we're opening our case checker. This is our checking function. And this has preloaded a case for us. I'm going to approve that case. And finally, we have a case track and trace app. Now, it's pertinent to just mention again that as I'm clicking through each of these, I'm loading individual apps. So each of these is an app that's been created within the app builder, and the desktop through the app selector is now targeted each of these apps, and these apps are being dynamically rendered through the app engine itself into the desktop. So there's no longer an iframe or anything of that nature. And you can see when I click on these apps, it's very, very responsive in terms of I click on it and I'm there straight away into the app. You'll also note when you develop these desktops, there's now different sort of features and functionality you can use in terms of communicating back and forward between the apps and the desktops and so on. So we've opened our track and trace. The next thing I want to show you is a different implementation of calling an app from a desktop. And in this scenario, what Sean's done is he's placed a new menu function for us here. He's called it Mails, and he's given the mail icon. And on that page now, he's dropped our mailbox plugin onto the page. So, this is a very basic implementation just to show the implementation of an app via a specific icon on a menu. This could very much be a case management situation where I'm processing these emails and I'm attaching them to cases. The sky's the limit really in terms of what you want to achieve with your desktop. So I just want to mention at this point as well, you can see once again is that our dark theme has been applied to the apps within this desktop. So we've used the same base theme that's applied to Dex. Like I mentioned, we created one standard professional looking dark theme that we applied to Dex. We have reused that theme for our apps and for our desktops within this demo, specifically because we spent a bit of time on that theme and it looks professional. But it's not to say now that this is how your apps need to look. The apps can very much be themed according to your own custom theme. So because the desktop is now an app, you can theme your desktop and you can build an APSA theme, you can build a light theme, you can build a theme of your choosing, and you can apply that to a desktop and completely style and theme the desktop in the way that you'd like to see it, as well as the apps within that. I'm not going to go too much into that because our next section is going to be Rudy that's talking about theming, and he is now going to show you the power of the new theming engine and just how much you can. Yeah. So we had a question from somebody in the chat room, and they were asking whether we can point to different desktops based on user groups. So currently what's set up is each of these desktops, they have a hard reference where you need to hit that URL specifically in order to access the desktop. So in our solution that we set up account opening, we have a single desktop that's been created. That's not to say you can only run one desktop. So you could potentially, within your solution, you could be running 5 desktops, as many desktops as you wish. Your desktop is your entry point. Currently, if you had 5 desktops, you'd have 5 different entry points. You'd need to hit those individually. The plan is going forward, we will be doing this very shortly within the next quarter, I'm sure, is to make the entry point configurable. So via your security, your roles, your groups, and so on, you will be able to set up default entry points for specific user groups. So I may log in, as a front-end teller. I may have set up a desktop specifically for front-end tellers, and when I log in as that teller, it's automatically going to direct me to that specific desktop. So within a solution, I could have, a front-end teller. I could have a back office solution. I could have a group of users specific to back office, and those guys are then going to, when they log in, they're going to be directed towards the back-end solution. Something else to mention, I'm not seeing it on this desktop. Sean hasn't included it for us, but in terms of the desktop functionality, the waffle that you saw within Dex, that same waffle is available to you on the desktops. So if it's a desktop where a user has available to them multiple desktops, so let's say, for instance, a user is part of the front-end teller solution and they're also allowed to access back office, it could very well be that that user is within multiple groups. In that scenario, you can set up your desktop in such a way that they have a default entry point. So it could be that they log in, their default entry point will be to go to back office, but they also have access to other desktops. What will happen in that case is that if the desktop is designed with the waffle feature in place, when I move into that back office desktop, the waffle will be available to me, and I can click on that waffle, and the other desktops available to me, such as front office and so on, based on my configuration, will be available. So again, if you see the way that the waffle solution works here in Dex, you can implement that same waffle feature within the desktop and allow your clients to actually manipulate and move between multiple desktops. So you can see that's quite a powerful thing going forward. But in terms of defaulting into a desktop based on that setup, it's very much on the plan. Most likely we'll be arriving within the next quarter. For now, in order to access multiple desktops, you're going to have to hit a hard link. I hope that answers the question.